The New England Patriots signed veteran running back Lamar Miller to a one-year contract. Here for the impact on fantasy football is Michael Fabiano and the editor of Patriot Maven, Devon Clements. Devon, I'm going to go to you first. Let's talk about this backfield and adding Lamar Miller. Does this say anything about how the Patriots feel about Sony Michel's foot injury?
Yeah, I think it definitely says something about Sony Michel, and I wrote about it this morning, so check it out at patriotmaven.com. But that being said, when you look at Sony Michel and the fact that he started the last 2 seasons on PUP and he has an injury history, and last season he didn't perform very well after a strong rookie season, you bring in someone like Lamar Miller, likely at a cheap rate given the fact that they're signing him right ahead of training camp. I think with his experience and his talent, that it's saying something about Sony Michel and the fact that he hasn't been activated off of PUP yet, and there isn't really a timetable yet as to when he's going to come back.
Thanks, Devon. Babs, let me go over to you. Can you see any of these backs in the Patriot system? Because it's a crowded backfield. Anyone's going to emerge or carve out a role, maybe outside of James White?
I feel like James White's the only guy that you can trust, I guess, in the Patriots backfield because he's got a different role than Sony Michel or Lamar Miller would or Rex Burkhead. Damian Harris. At this point, I don't think that I can draft Sony Michel as anything more than an RB5, and maybe even that's a little bit too high at this point because there is a chance for him to potentially end up on the PUP list to start the regular season. And I also feel like bringing in Lamar Miller shows you what the Patriots think of Damian Harris, right? Like in the fantasy industry, once news came out that Michel might be delayed in coming back, all of a sudden, Damian Harris started to become a little bit more interesting in the late rounds. Now, that's not really the case anymore, and I feel like the same holds true of Rex Burkhead. So with so many options in that backfield, aside from James White, who plays a different role, he's the pass catcher, there's not one running back in New England that you can trust to produce consistent fantasy numbers. But, I mean, that's why they call that backfield Bellatrix, because typically – we can't figure out who's going to be the lead guy on a weekly basis. So this backfield now, my friend, is one to avoid outside of James White.
You can find out where we have all these Patriot running backs ranked on our custom cheat sheets. Head on over to si.com/fantasy.